voice so smooth, he'll talk you through, he'll set the groove. Oh, Manly Mark, the man with the spark. He's got the wisdom, he's got the heart. Pull up a chair, stay for a while. Manly Mark will make you smile. He's got tales that twist and turn, a world of wonders you'll soon learn. Big band swing with a gentle tone, in his company you're never alone. The horns will croon, the rhythm will sway. Mark's got stories to brighten your day. A dash of charm, a pinch of wit. Manly Mark's podcast, this is it.
Today, we're diving into a topic that's been buzzing in the corners of the internet, whispered in group chats, and debated in late-night conversations. The eerie coincidences surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and two simulations run by the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, Event 201, and the SPARS pandemic scenario. Now, I'm not here to spin wild theories or point fingers, but I do want to lay out the facts, explore the timelines, and ask, are these just coincidences, or is there something more to think about? Let's get into it. First, let's talk about Event 201. In October 18th, 2019, just months before COVID-19 was identified in Wuhan, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted a high-level pandemic simulation in New York City. The scenario? A global outbreak of a novel coronavirus originating in pigs in South America, spreading rapidly and causing millions of deaths. Sound familiar? The exercise, called Event 201, brought together global leaders from businesses, government, and public health to game out how the world might respond to such a crisis. They discussed supply chain disruptions, misinformation on social media, economic collapse, and the challenges of vaccine distribution. Issues that would feel all too real. The simulation estimated 65 million deaths in 18 months, a number that COVID-19 thankfully didn't reach. But the parallels are striking. Coronavirus pandemic modeled just weeks before the real thing. It's enough to make you pause.
Tune in now to Manly Mark.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode here. I'm here at noon, Uncle Pat's Pub, waiting on T-Man and Jazzy J, as always. Maybe they just don't like Terry's cooking. I don't know, but one day they're going to be rolling in while I'm talking to you guys, and I'm going to be like, feel like I got caught cheating on them, because this is the kind of stuff they like to talk to me about. They don't quite know I'm sharing all the good news with everybody else. But guys, thanks for tuning in today. We've got a few different things to talk about, but as my little monologue indicated, we're talking about COVID-19 today. And boy, oh boy, did I bring the receipts from specific websites, specific dates. We're going to get into all of it, and maybe a little more. But of course, Fee's got my life in his hands, so I've got to essentially plug the shows, plug the network. So guys, always check out the Feast Me show with Manly Mark every morning at 9 a.m. If you're here tuning in, you know it's me, Manly Mark, on Midday Madness with Manly Mark. And 9 p.m. is Night with Fee. I mean, who doesn't want to spend the evening relaxing, watching a guy on a beach in a robe talking about relationships, So, guys, tune in to the Feast Me Network, the Night with Fee, every night at 9. And as I say every show, we got our website up and going. So all you do is go to feastme.com, scroll down to the bottom, fill out this form with your name, your email, and ask Fee a question that he will get to on Night with Fee. So Jerry, Jessica, Colin, anyone out there listening, go to feastme.com, email Fee your questions. Or if you just want to tell us how much you hate us. We want to hear that too. We want to hear it too. So guys, thanks for tuning in, and I guess we'll just go ahead and get into it. But, I gave the monologue essentially with, I didn't talk about anything other than COVID, but there is something in the news that Fee sent me this morning, which ties into one of my former episodes about are aliens demons? And if you tune into me a lot, I'll say yes. But I mean, this is no surprise to me because I've been seeing these types of hearings go on for quite a while in the government. But right now there is a UFO hearing live in Congress, and it's happening live right now. So like this isn't a pre-recorded video. I'm going to tune us in to the live feed just because, as always, if most people, if this isn't on the radar, would be, what? They're talking about disclosing UFO stuff right now in Congress? They've been talking about it for years. It's not a secret. It's not a secret that these things exist. And I would argue it's not even a secret what they are or who they are. But just the fact that they're talking about it is in part, I think, part of the deception. Did these things create us? Are they demons? Well, let's just tune in to the hearing just for a few minutes because, like I said, it's live right now. So if live happening right now, they're not talking about anything interesting, we'll tune back and get into the rest of the show. But I just hated not to go ahead and let you guys tune in on that because if you tune into the Feast Me Network, you guys are hearing stuff before it's in the news every day. So let me just click around and get this for you.
Thought process.
I just don't know.
I think we must be modest in our assumptions that we're looking for intelligence. That could be biological, it might not.
Non-biological, but what non-biological intelligence, what does that mean though?
Artificial intelligence, ML, machines. We assume that all intelligence would be like us. And every time we look out in the universe, we are humbled relative to what we don't know in terms of the forms of intelligence and what it may take. I can assure you I probably can't ask you your question, but I think the ultimate answer is going to surprise us all.
And then Mr. Garcia, you had a few closing remarks.
And I know we're about to hit votes here, so I'll be brief. Just, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Chairwoman Mace especially for holding this important bipartisan hearing. And I want to thank all the committee members that are interested in this topic. I think our commitment to all of you and all the folks that have contacted us, and certainly to the advocates and the pilots, is that we need to continue investigating UAPs. I think the country the country is owed explanations and ensure that the safety or national security is always protected. This is a conversation and questioning that must continue, so I'm very grateful to all of you. And I also just want to add, just personally, I think it's really important for me, two things guide my questioning and my observations on UAPs. One is we should always be guided by facts, science, and data, and stay serious on those issues. And the second thing is I think that we should not limit our imagination and our thoughts and our curiosity on what UAPs could actually be. And I think those two things for me are really important, and I'm grateful for all of you to be here. So with that, I yield back.
Okay, and we have Mr. Ogles who is on the way. He's going to be here any second. Is that correct? Want to check, and he'll be the last member with questions that we have today, and then we have votes. So we want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Mr. Garcia and folks on both sides of the aisle for being here today and being patient. We have a lot more questions, and I hope that this will open the door to more hearings in the future. I obviously would like to know how much taxpayers are spending on this. You have the right to know. But also, if we're spending money on something that doesn't exist, why are we spending the money? And if it doesn't, to ensure that that technology is not in the hands of someone who could use it against us or our allies anywhere in the world. So, Mr. Ogles, you're just in time, babe. I will recognize you for 5 minutes of questioning before we head on out today.
Well, thank you all for being here. And Madam Chairwoman, I'm out of breath because I sprinted to get here. But this is an important hearing. I think we all know that there's something going on. Mr. Elizondo, based on your knowledge of UAP sightings, do you believe it's fair to say that they are especially common near nuclear sites?
Yes, sir. Mr. Congressman, I absolutely am convinced of that, as are my colleagues inside the government.
And the reason why I posed that question, and this has been one of my talking points from the beginning, is, Oak Ridge is in Tennessee. The so-called weather balloon that drifted, that we now know was controlled, it passed near Oak Ridge. It obviously is a sensitive site, both of interest to our adversaries and to whatever else this is. Because we know that at military installations, at sensitive locations, such as nuclear facilities, that we're seeing this take place. So the question is what is it? Do you believe they've caused an irregular activity, and why might they be interested in those sites?
Sir, in some cases, it's actually regular activity. You'd be surprised. There's actually documentation right now that's been submitted. It's not just Oak Ridge. It's Savannah River site, SRS. It's also Los Alamos. A lot of our sensitive R&D locations appear to be under some sort of surveillance and monitoring. Why? Well, because a lot of innovation comes out of those areas, a lot of new technologies, a lot of, if you will, disruptive technologies that we use for our national defense originates out of those locations, and advanced concepts in physics as well. So if I was doing any type of reconnaissance, even on a foreign adversary, that's a great target to start with.
Sure, and again, this has been one of my talking points. I do have questions. What role might the Department of Energy or its subsidiaries or affiliates have in this type of technology or possessing this type of technology, whether it's ours or others? Mr. Gallaudet, I think your testimony has been pretty clear, but would you please reiterate that do you believe UAPs pose a threat to pilots? Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. They were threatening Navy pilots during the exercise that I was, my people were involved with in 2015, and it's my understanding they're risking pilot safety, commercial and military today.
Well, considering, and I understand that there's a need in some cases to keep certain technologies secret, but you believe that it is posing a threat to our personnel, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I think it's reasonable to conclude that if there is a threat to our personnel who are serving our country faithfully, that there be oversight.
100%, Congressman. And in fact, that's the one thing that we've not talked about enough during this hearing is the fact that the government executive branch not sharing with Congress what it knows about UAP infringes on your legislative and oversight responsibilities to such an extent that's very concerning. I mean, what else are we, if you look at national security or intelligence or foreign affairs or appropriations, you all have oversight and legislative responsibility regarding those. This UAP issue may be the greatest issue of our time, and it's being hid from you.
Well, I mean, and to your point, I think we've seen over the decades that we have certain adversaries like China, like Russia, that technologically speaking are not as advanced as us, that they lack some of the lethality that we have, and that we've seen that they've gone after our technologies and in some cases succeeded, in particular with missile technology. And so again, my concern, whether this technology emanates from us or otherworldly, that we know that we possess it. And where's the accountability? Where are the stopgaps? What are the guarantees that if this were to fall in enemy hands, that it isn't immediately weaponized against us? And I'll say this, it is clear from my experience and what I've seen that there is something out there. The question is it ours? Is it someone else's? Or is it otherworldly? And Madam Chairman, I would posit that as the legislative body, as the regulatory body, we must know. And anyone who prevents us from gaining access to that information, I would consider that criminality. Because we have U.S. personnel who may very well be in harm's way. We have technology that ultimately may threaten our very existence. With that,
accomplished in the military, in civilian government, in science, and in journalism.
I mean, you guys can literally, this is happening live right now. I hated to leave you guys over there for so long and not talk to you, but it's like, this is real life happening right now. They're discussing. I mean, you heard the guy, whoever Ogle, he believes it could be otherworldly. Now, I think it's other plane of existence, but that's beside the point. I mean, they'll brand it however they want to brand it. But from going to someone, I mean, I've had so many conversations with just regular people. Yeah, whole UFO thing, it's fake. I don't give it any credence, or, but these are things that they are right now, quite literally, go look at it, discussing in Congress, and going to put a vote to. So I had to touch in on that because, as always, I think they're going to trick us. They're going to get those demons walking among us. They're going to, I don't know. It almost makes me think of the Bible verse. I don't even know where it's at, but as in the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Well, if you read Genesis 6, whoa, there were some weird things happening in Genesis 6. You mean the sons of God descended down and took the daughter of men for wives? Whoa. And now we're reaching a point where these beings that might exist are making contact, or are working with our governments, or I don't know to what degree, but the point being is this not in a sense similar to what they experienced in Genesis 6 before the flood? Just something to think about and something to keep your eye on, because this is real life. I mean, those are real House and committee members. It's real. It's real. Israel? It's real. But I'll go ahead and just, I could have almost spent the whole time just watching that. But I won't, because honestly, that kind of stuff's a lot more interesting to me than what I'm going to talk about. But I think to a regular person, what I'm about to get into is a lot more relevant, because not only is it going to show you were fooled and lied to during the whole COVID pandemic, but it'll just make you question your trust of the government in times like that, and just your trust in everything. I'm not trying to erode no one's trust, but point is, trust the Feast Me Network, because we're here with the receipts, we're here with the knowledge, and I'll go ahead and jump into it, but I want to preface this by, I might have talked about this yesterday or the day before, about how they're talking about rescinding some of the pardons that Biden issued before he left office. Now, it might have something to do with the whole auto pen thing, which I don't even know what auto pen is, other than other people were using Joe Biden's signature to sign stuff and pardons that actually wasn't him doing it. Maybe that's the way it works, but long story short, they were talking about rescinding the pardon for Fauci, which, again, if Fauci was such an American hero, but you don't hear nothing from him no more, weird, why would he need a pardon? So this guy who was telling you how deadly this disease was, how much you need the vaccine, had to have a presidential pardon. For what? Well, I saw this clip just today when I was getting ready for the show, and honestly, this one clip spurred the entire episode. So I know I'm already 18 minutes in, but Tulsi's coming out and talking about Fauci. So things that were, oh no, it didn't originate in COVID, Wuhan lab leak. No, the U.S. wasn't involved. No, well, now Tulsi's getting into the weeds. Watch this video, and you'll see she's coming after Fauci, potentially. So what do you guys think about this?
But the thing that we are working with Jay Bhattacharya, the new NIH director, on with, as well as Secretary Kennedy, is looking at the gain-of-function research that in the case of the Wuhan lab, as well as many of these other biolabs around the world, was actually U.S. funded and leads to this dangerous kind of research that in many examples has resulted in either a pandemic or some other major health crisis.
Well, let me ask you specifically, because we already know that EcoHealth Alliance was partnering with this Wuhan lab to do gain-of-function research.
That's right.
We just have never been able to have somebody say, it was that exact experiment that led to this COVID bug. But have we gotten there? What's the new thing that you're digging in on?
We are working on that with Jay Bhattacharya and look forward to being able to share that, hopefully very soon.
Okay.
That specific
link.
Correct, between the gain-of-function research and what we saw with COVID-19.
I mean, that would be extraordinary, because just so the audience knows, if that's true, if it was Peter Daszak's research with the Wuhan so-called bat lady that caused this pandemic, then we did fund it. Then Anthony Fauci helped fund the pandemic.
The
he was
thing
in
that
charge of
he
fighting.
denied over and over and over to Senator Rand Paul's questioning.
That's right, under oath.
Under oath, exactly. So is it any wonder that he sought a preemptive pardon for anything during a certain period of time by President Biden before he left office?
And then strong-armed and smeared people like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, anybody who came out and said, I don't know if that's natural. This actually smacks of lab.
And the reason why this is so important is not just what happened in the past, it's because this gain-of-function research is happening in biolabs around the world. I got attacked, and I think you saw this, we've probably talked about it on your show before, when I warned against US-funded biolabs in Ukraine when the Russia-Ukraine war kicked off for this very reason. Who knows what kinds of pathogens are in these labs, and if released, could create another COVID-like pandemic. And for that, I was called a Russian asset. You're, trumpeting Putin's talking points, all of this nonsense, simply for speaking the truth and stating facts that, by the way, are still on U.S. Embassy Ukraine's website today about how the U.S. has funded these biolabs in Ukraine. But my point is, in order to prevent another COVID-like pandemic or another major health incident that could affect us in the world, we have to end this gain-of-function research and provide the evidence that shows exactly why and how it's in our best interest, the American people's best interest, to bring about an end to it.
Whoa. So for all those people who were called a freak or a crazy person because they said, I'm kind of just don't believe the fact that it was a accidental lab leak, or like the second COVID happened, the Chinese government were blaming the Americans, and the Americans are blaming the Chinese government. But they're neither of them wrong, because America funded the research, and China was the one who was carrying it out, which even goes back to, I should have pulled up the news, but Obama, during the Obama presidency, he sent money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. What? Whoa. Just kind of like how Obama gave $100 million to Iran, our biggest enemy. What? So it's like, whoa. Are these people so stupid that they go, dumb decision, I didn't know. That's what they want us to think, because it's that easy to say, they're just idiots, they just don't know what they're doing, idiots. But it's like, no, it's all by design to weaken America, to weaken the world, to bring about global unity, to bring about a one world government, a one world religion, and just to destroy the nation states. So I hope they go after Fauci, because I had even members of my family saying, kind of like listening to him, yeah, or just right when it kicked off, hey, don't get the vaccine, it's poison. You idiot. It's just like, okay, guys, during the time, I even had the documents, hey, that I'm about to show you, but please, family, please, folks, look at this. Look at it and just ask why. But I don't know. I guess it's just the fear, or no one just wants. I've gotten better at my delivery methods over the years. But the whole, okay, well, if there wasn't, like Tulsi said, why did he seek pardons for a very specific time period during Joe Biden's administration? Because he went on national TV under oath and claimed over and over and over all of these things that turned out to be a complete lie. And I kind of hope they use him as a fall guy. Heck, it's old news, but Fauci was leading research that involved putting a beagle puppies in a cage and exposing just their heads to maggots. Now, I don't know what the point of the experiment was, but it's like, things like that aren't cool. Not cool. Now, I'm not going to gripe and say, okay, you used tested your shampoo on a rabbit, and now you get your shampoo and it's like, it says cruelty-free or not tested on animals. And it's like, I don't know, if you're testing shampoo, who cares? But letting maggots eat the faces off of dogs? The Feast Me Network loves dogs. I might not love feast dogs, but I love dogs. And I like animals. But just essentially pivoting right into my first piece of evidence is, of course, is always explained away with coincidence, or why would they not? But for anyone who hasn't heard of Event 201, that took place in the fall of 2019, 2 months before the pandemic, and it's like they say, oh, well, coincidence, but how coincidence? I mean, it's just like, I'll just pull it up. I'll pull it up. I'm going to, it's just a window capture, so I'm going to, it's going to take me a second to pull it up. But the point is, I am reading directly off of centerforhealthsecurity.org. Whoa. Okay, so anyone can go to it. Oh, I've got to turn that on. You guys can't see it yet. There it is. centerforhealthsecurity.org. Tabletop exercise, event 201. Now let me get back to the article so I can actually scroll and read it to you guys. Guys, this episode's full of me reading, and so if you don't like that, too bad, because this information I'm giving you is invaluable, and it's just out in the open for anyone and everyone to see. Okay, Johns Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health. I mean, this is just legit Johns Hopkins website. Let me read it. Tabletop exercise, event 201. This training tabletop exercise is based on a fictional scenario. The inputs experts used for modeling the potential impact were fictional. It is a teaching and training resource for public health and government officials. Well, okay. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, already, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who are always in trouble in foreign countries because their vaccines are, like in India, you can find on Reuters, an article about how the vaccine that the Bill and Melinda Gates were giving to people in India for polio was causing more polio than natural polio. Duh. But then the same folks, Bill and Melinda Gates, talk about climate change and limiting the population of the earth. So if the people who talk about population control are the people who are pushing medicine off on you, well, if you're that dumb, that's on you. Let me get into it. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security and World Economic Forum and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation hosted Event 201, a high-level pandemic exercise, on October 18th, 2019, in New York. The exercise illustrated areas where public and private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Ooh. So 2 months. They had some scenario where they got together and said, what are we going to do if there's a worldwide pandemic? Let's get all our ducks in a row. Oh no, for real one's happening. Come on. In recent years, the world has seen a growing number of epidemic events amounting to approximately 200 events annually. These events are increasing, and they are disruptive to health, economies, and society. Managing these events already strains global capacity, even absent a pandemic threat. Experts agree that it's only a matter of time, 2 months apparently, before one of these epidemics become global. A pandemic with potentially catastrophic consequences. A severe pandemic which becomes Event 201 would require reliable cooperation among several industries, national governments, and key international institutes. About the Event 201 exercise. Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic, scenario-based facilitated discussions, confronting difficult, true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical, but scientifically plausible pandemic. 15 global businesses, government, and public health leaders were players in the simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now and in the future. The exercise consisted of pre-recorded news broadcasts, live staff briefings, and moderated discussions on specific topics. These issues were carefully designed, very carefully, in a compelling narrative that educated the participants and the audience. Let's, in the recent year, okay, I saw this. Let me see. Okay, similar to Center 3's previous exercise, they've been doing exercises for a long time. Tool to inform, okay, let's get on recommendations. The next severe pandemic will not only cause great illness and loss of life, but could also trigger major cascading economic and societal consequences that could contribute greatly to global impact and suffering. The Event 201 pandemic exercise conducted on October 18th, 2019 vividly demonstrated a number of these important gaps in pandemic preparedness, as well as some of the elements of the solutions between the public-private sectors that will be needed to fill them in. Yes. Anyways, when, where, Friday, October 18th, 2019, Pierre Hotel audience, an invitation-only audience of nearly 130 people attended the exercises, and a live stream of the event was available to everyone. Video coverage is available here. You can go watch it. Okay, so, let me get back to you. I'm lost in the internet. Help, I'm lost in the internet. Now, come on, okay, so you're telling me 2 months before a global pandemic that brought society and civilization to a halt, they had a event 201, a tabletop exercise simulating a real-world global pandemic. Come on now, that's a little strange. I mean, I've seen weirder coincidences, but that's odd. So, I mean, with that in mind, I mean, had I only known about that, I would have thought, well, this whole thing is whack, man. This whole thing is government control. Shut down the churches. Shut down mom and pop businesses. Give more power and money to large corporations. A mass group trauma ritual. I mean, the whole dancing nurse trend, where you're told to stay home because the hospitals are full and people are dying, and yet you saw thousands of videos of nurses supposedly working their tails off in these empty hospitals where they're all doing group dances, coordinated skits, and it's like, it wasn't entertaining to me. First, I hate dances. I hate watching people do stupid dances, but we're in the midst of global pandemic and you're making dance videos? What? This isn't a knock on people who are nurses or doctors, but it's just like, come on. How stupid were we? How stupid. But as I get into it, it gets worse. It gets worse. On the same website, I mean, this is a different website. This is Johns Hopkins' main website. They had a document simulation from 2017 detailing another fictional pandemic, but then we're going to read through it, and like I said, guys, you can literally get on Johns Hopkins' website yourself and find this. But it's just spooky and eerie, the things discussed in these documents and simulation that then you quite literally saw happen in real time. Okay, I mean, enough of an intro. Let me just get into it because, guys, we're getting in the weeds. I mean, if you don't like reading, again, I'm reading a lot, so let's just hold on to your pantaloons, because we're going into it. Yeah, this is the Midday Madness part. You're always with Manly Mark on the FCB Network, but this is the Midday Madness aspect. Okay, this one right here. Ooh, boy, oh boy, you guys are, I hope you're ready for this. Window capture. Okay. Whoa. Let me get back to the website so I can scroll. All right, even that, I'm lost. Okay, so right off the bat, this is a futuristic pandemic that they made in 2017, projecting it for 2025 through 2028. Okay, and I've got the pages I kind of want to highlight, but there is so much. There's 89 pages of this PDF. There's so much information. I'm going to try to hit the high points. And I haven't thought about this document since 2020, so, it didn't have quite enough time because I thought about it last minute, so I just skimmed through it. But, okay, yeah. Futuristic scenario for public health. And even look, the SPARS pandemic. Okay. Project team, whatever. Recommended citation. What's the first page I wanted to get to? I just want to read a little intro. I want to read about Johns Hopkins. Table of contents. I think this is important. Table of contents. Let's look. Chapter 1. The SPARS outbreaks begin. Oh, a possible cure. Oh, a potential vaccine. Users beware. What? Going viral. Okay. Let me just scroll on down because in this recovery section, Chapter 17, vaccine injury. What? So in this fiction, even in this fictional pandemic scenario, we have a chapter about vaccine injury. Oh, what? So they made a simulation of a worldwide pandemic in which they'd push out a rushed vaccine, as I'll show you in this document that they did in the simulation, and then there's pushback from injured parties, and so it gets into that, and we'll just get into it. But I mean, guys, this is from 2017, and once you see the parallels between this and the actual pandemic, how much are, I mean, you guys, coincidence? Come on. This is a hypothetical scenario designed to illustrate the public health risk, communication challenges that could potentially emerge during a naturally occurring infectious disease outbreak, requiring development and distribution of a novel and or investigational drugs, vaccines, therapeutics, or other medical countermeasures. The infectious pathogen medical countermeasures, characters, news media excerpts, social media posts, and government agency responses described herein are entirely fictional. So let me just see where I wanted to go first with this. Okay, scenario, okay, we already got into that. So distant wall reverse. Okay, general purpose. Let me just scroll through. I know the first page I want to get to is 20, but I just want to make sure that I'm not skipping anything important. Okay, scenario environment. In the year 2025, the world had become simultaneously more connected, yet more divided. Nearly universal access to wireless internet and new technology, including internet accessing technology, thin, flexible screens that can be temporarily attached to briefcases, backpacks, or clothing, and used to stream content from the internet, has provided the means for readily sharing news and information. However, many have chosen to self-restrict the sources they turn to for information, often electing to interact only with those with whom they agree. Echo chamber. This trend has increasingly isolated cliques from one another, making communication across and between these groups more and more difficult. We saw that. I'm scrolling through. Let me just get into it. Scenario, okay. I might just skip right into page 20. Okay, actually, chapter 1, the SPARS outbreaks begin. Third death in a week due to unknown illness in Twin Cities. In mid-October 2025, 3 deaths were reported among members of the First Baptist Church, SBC, so it's okay. It's a joke, of St. Paul, Minnesota. 2 of the church members had recently returned from a missionary. Okay, so you see, it's hard, it's happened. They start issuing warnings. The CDC monitored the situation closely, working with partners in Southeast Asia to quickly develop a case definition for SPARS. Within 4 weeks of CDC publishing a working case definition on its website, nearly 200 suspected cases. Okay, let me skip on down. Oh, practice good hygiene, we saw all that. Let me go ahead and get into page 20. That's where I wanted to start. A possible cure. Is this page 20? No, it's page 16. Okay, well, I'll read this because this is interesting. This is all in the simulation, fictional posts and alerts. And so, as you see, December 15th, 2025, like I said, it was projected in the future. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and state health departments are investigating the emergence of the St. Paul Acute Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus. SPARS-CoV. Now reported in 26 states. Coronavirus. I never heard the term coronavirus until COVID-19. But in 2017, in their fictional reports, coronavirus was the name. Now reported in 26 states and several other countries. The purpose of this HAN advisory is to update public health departments and healthcare facilities about this epidemic and to provide guidance to healthcare providers. Moving on. Okay. Early in the SPARS pandemic, public health and medical professionals were hopeful that the outbreak could be contained through case identification and isolation, as we noted. In our real-life scenario, it quickly became clear, however, that this strategy was not as effective as initially hoped. First challenges in identifying mild cases limited the impact of isolation programs because the initial symptoms of SPARS closely resembled influenza, many who contracted SPARS did not immediately seek care, assuming they merely had the flu. Fortunately, some who thought they had the flu chose to isolate themselves at home. Don't you remember, again, people forget how during the COVID, they were bragging about how flu numbers are down by leaps and bounds. So much less flu. Well, that's because they said they had COVID instead of the flu. Anyways, thereby preventing the spread of SPARS outside the household. See, isolation. Over the Thanksgiving holiday and Black Friday, however, fewer infected persons remained home, of course, thereby enabling the spread of SPARS beyond the Midwest. Second, SPARS transmission was accelerated by infectious individuals who had not yet become symptomatic. Together, these factors led to significant spikes in the number of reported cases. Okay, moving on, I'm going to get to my first page. I'll see this. At that time, no treatment or vaccine for SPARS was approved for use in humans. The antiviral, Kalachikavir, which was initially developed as a therapeutic for a severe acute respiratory syndrome and Middle East respiratory syndrome, was one of the antiviral drugs authorized in the United States by the FDA to treat a handful of severe SPARS cases under expanded access protocol. Drug name had shown some evidence of efficacy against the coronaviruses, and a small inventory of the drug was already part of the strategic national stockpile in anticipation of FDA approval. Despite some concerns about potential adverse side effects, the lack of concrete information regarding potential treatments in the face of increasingly rapid spread of SPARS prompted demands from the media, the public, and political leaders for the FDA to be more forthcoming with information on potential treatment options. But you saw that quite literally at the start. I'm coming back to you just to talk about it. I don't want you guys not to see me for too long. You saw that at the start of COVID. I can't remember this remdesivir. Actually, I can. Remdesivir. They you got COVID. A vaccine's in the making. Oh no, what are we going to do? Well, there's this antiviral therapeutic called remdesivir. Take the remdesivir. Yes. Oh no, remdesivir, some people are having bad reactions to it. Oh, I don't know if you guys remember remdesivir. That was the therapeutic they started pushing down your throats before they started pushing the vaccine down our throats. What? They were talking about this fictional therapeutic in this 2017 scenario that they're going to push initially and people are going to start demanding it, but then come to find out it has negative effects. Whoa, already the similarities are pretty stark. Let's get back into it. I'm not even to my actual places I wrote down for notes yet. I went to the wrong spot. Wrong spot. Back to the internet. Okay, let me go on to page 17. Page 20 is what I need. Okay, a potential vaccine, chapter 3. Whoa. I'm not going to read this. Okay. Page 20. Okay, I might read this whole page, but this is interesting. I'm telling you guys, the weeds are never fun, but these are important because this was in front of your face before the COVID pandemic. Shortly after authorizing expanded access to calosivir for select patients, of course, they had select patients with the therapeutics they put out first. Also, in real life, the FDA received reports of an animal vaccine developed by GMI, multi-international. I don't know if that's a typo, livestock conglomerate operating cattle and pig farms and among other places, Southeast Asia. Since 2021, ranchers have been using the vaccine to prevent a SPARS-like respiratory. Let me skip on down. But internal trials revealed several worrisome side effects, including swollen legs, severe joint pain, and encephalitis. I can't say these words. Encephalitis, leading to seizures, or death. Because any animal experiencing these side effects were immediately killed, and because animals were typically slaughtered within a year of vaccination, further information regarding the short and long-term effects of the GMI vaccine were unavailable. Kind of similar to our vaccine. Lacking a viable alternative and considering the potentially high morbidity and mortality associated with SPARS at the time, the case fatality rate was still considered to be 4.7. The United States government contacted GMI in regards to the vaccine. After laboratory tests confirmed that the coronavirus affecting livestock in Southeast Asia was closely related to SPARS-CoV, the U.S. began an extensive review of GMI's annual animal vaccine development and testing processes. Shortly thereafter, federal health authorities awarded a contract to SynBio, a U.S.-based pharmaceutical company, to develop a SPARS vaccine based on the GMI model. The contract included requirements for safety and testing, ensuring the vaccine would be safe and effective for human use. It also provided considerable funding from the National Institute of Health, NIH, and included provisions for a priority review by the FDA. Additionally, HHS Secretary Nagel agreed in principle to invoke, this is important, the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act, PrEP Act, thereby providing liability protection for SynBio and future vaccine providers in the event the vaccine recipients experience any adverse effects. Let me read that again. Thereby providing liability protection for SynBio and future vaccine providers in the event the vaccine recipients experienced adverse effects. So, in this pretend simulation from 2017, the government, who approved of a vaccine that was kind of rushed, kind of like, well, we got to have it, provided liability protection to these manufacturers in the case of adverse effects. Did you not see the exact same thing happen with the COVID vaccines? I mean, they might not have broadcast it on the news, but if you listen to anyone who questioned the vaccine, they would show the documents. They would just be like, look, look, look. They received liability protection. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, I mean, who all those, it's been so long I can't remember the vaccine companies or manufacturers, but what I'm simply saying is weird coincidence to include that in a scenario for a potential future outbreak. Again, I mean, maybe you could argue, well, they were just being ready for anything. It's too similar. They telegraph what they're going to do to you before they do it. And because you say no, they have your permission and your consent. And for whatever Luciferian doctrine, religion they believe in, if you consent to this evil that they're putting upon you, because they told you, you might not have been listening, you might not have understood or seen the writing on the wall, the symbols, you give them your consent to harm you, to hurt you. And then they're not held accountable by the karmic laws of the universe. Now, I'm not a karma guy, I'm not a New Age guy, but I don't believe Luciferian doctrine, so that doesn't mean anything to me. But they tell you these things because they have to. No one's paying attention. Too busy watching our favorite sports ball player, watching our favorite superhero. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this has been out there for years. I mean, since 2017. Let me get back into it. Hope you guys are digging it. Hope you guys are tuning in because this is important. You can pull this document up yourself on johnhopkins.com, John Hopkins website. Let me get back into it. Because I've already gone 46 minutes and I need to get through this material. But this is important, guys. It's important. Go back so I can read and scroll. Okay, right here. That's just page 20. Now back. Yeah, thereby providing liability protection for SynBio and future vaccine providers in the event that the vaccine recipients experience by any adverse effects. Okay, now I've got 22. Food for thought. Yep, 22. Which part? Users beware. FDA promotes miracle cure for SPARS. Officials recommend use of unsafe SPARS drug for children. CDC officials. SPARS drug may be ineffective. Use it anyways. This is page 20. Following limited evidence of success in treating SPARS patients with Calcifer, the FDA issued emergency use authorization. See, that's what they did. Emergency use authorization for the COVID vaccines. In our time, they issued an emergency use authorization for this drug as a SPARS therapeutic in the United States. While Calcifer had a positive, they did the same thing with remdesivir, had a positive impact against SPARS, mushmouth over here, preliminary data indicated it also caused intense stomach cramping in a statistically significant number of adult cases. Additionally, while initial hopes had been that this drug would, in addition to treating the disease, prevent or reduce transmission, this was not the case. Nevertheless, due to the high public demand for access, viable SPARS treatments, public health and healthcare agencies drew from existing SNS inventories. Long story short, the people were so fooled they just begged for it until further production of the drug could begin. 22, now on to 23. Okay, let me just make sure I don't want to read anything I don't want to read. Messages were internship that continue to verge. Okay, I'll get into this. I'll just read the whole page. Official announcements about the use of the drug to treat SPARS were made in early January 2026. Although extensive interagency efforts were made to coordinate messages, like you saw with COVID, slight differences were emphasized by the media, leading to the appearance of diverging messages. The FDA, for example, explained that this drug was being authorized under emergency use protocols as a treatment for SPARS and recommended that healthcare providers and other interested persons review the FDA-approved drug insert. No one looks at the drug inserts. Look at the drug inserts on the vaccines you give your children. The pediatrician will be surprised when you ask for it, I'm sure. So I want to know if this drug has a black box label on it, a black box warning. You'd be surprised how many vaccines for children have black box warnings, which include information about potential side effects. The CDC's announcement contains similar information, but when a CDC spokesperson was asked directly questions on air, he explained the preliminary nature of the drug trials and stressed that the efficacy of the drug against SPARS remained unknown. The NIH announcement, meanwhile, also echoed the FDA announcement. Let me just skip on down. After this drug was in public use for 3 months, the FDA was able to release updated information about the drug's effectiveness and incidence of side effects. This information came too late, however, for a large portion of the general public. In Wisconsin, where many individuals were treated with this drug, local citizens posted, tweeted, chatted, and zapped real-time impressions of the drug. While some claim the drug was effective and even life-saving, most reported no effect and claimed the drug had caused additional side effects, such as headaches, nausea, and body aches. The social media reports of these side effects were so ubiquitous in the Milwaukee area that local news reported. Local news reporters openly questioned the FDA's updated safety information, with one reporter even asking live on air if the FDA even knew what the side effects were. In Lawrence, Kansas, on the other hand, local media, again using social media response as a source. Social media response is very interesting. That's what you see now. Focus on how successful this drug was at treating SPARS. Let me just skip on down. I want to make sure I'm hitting all this information. Okay, interesting. In addition, not all members of the public responded to SPARS in the same way. Small groups of individuals spread throughout the country, for example, who felt that natural cures such as garlic and vitamins would be more effective at treating SPARS than an untested drug, were much less likely to accept the drug as a treatment option or even seek medical attention for SPARS-like symptoms. Similarly, I can't speak, some ethnic minorities and particularly ethnic groups who lived close together in large, tight-knit communities also rejected this drug. Some of this resistance, particularly among select ethnic minorities, was attributable to questionable messaging on the part of public health agencies. Let me just go 24. I'm 20. I need to go down to 27 now. I'm just trying to hit all these highlights. The stuff that's you saw this happening real time in COVID. This is 27. Reports of negative side effects associated with this drug began gaining traction in February 2026. Despite the negative response, public health agencies continued to make progress until February, when a video of a 3-year-old boy in North Carolina who was hospitalized with SPARS and began projectile vomiting immediately after taking a dose of the drug went viral. In the video clip, the boy's physician administers a pediatric dose of liquid drug. A few moments later, the boy begins vomiting profusely, chokes, and then faints while his mother shrieks in the background. Little fake tweets. Local child vomits immediately after taking drug, and you wonder why I will never give it to my child. Kid looked like he was gonna Ralph after taking the drug. Got on video, passed out in his own puke. This clip was widely shared across the United States with a variety of captions, including "No Calavasur" and "Natural's better." The hashtags in turn provided a way for people sharing the views to find one another and band together on social media. Skip on down some more. Next page to 33. Okay, the FDA and other government agencies quickly attempted to remind the public that correlation does not equate to causation. We heard that all the time, and that vomiting was not a known side effect of Calavasur. This message, while scientifically accurate, lacked appropriate empathy and failed to assess the public's mounting fears. As a result, it was largely ignored, and public concern continued to grow. Next page, down to 33. I'm trying to hurry through this, guys, because I don't want to bore you, but this is important. What's this? Oh, well, okay. In late May, one of these individuals, a former doctor and current senator from Ohio, responded to a second vomiting video by tweeting, "Don't be buffoons. Calavasur is 100% safe and 100% effective. Correlation does not equal causation." After being shared tens of thousands of times, the tweet picked up by traditional media outlets. This led to multiple awkward news interviews with FDA and CDC officials who had to clarify, while the sentiment of the message was correct, Calavasur did have potential side effects and was not completely effective against treating SPARS. Moving to page 33. I tell you, folks, this is just... Okay, well, let me just hit this. The grass is always greener. As confidence in, you could just say remdesivir, continued to deteriorate across the United States, the United Kingdom and European Union jointly announced authorization for another antiviral treatment. Gets on essentially... Authorized today the use of the VMAX antiviral. So antivirals, getting into the part of the publication where we're talking about probably, I'll just read it. By May 2026, public interest in SPARS had begun to wane. In late April, the CDC had publicized an updated case fatality rate estimate suggesting that SPARS was only fatal in 0.6 of cases in the United States, where access to medical treatment was available. This figure matched public sentiment, wildly expressed on social media, that SPARS was not as dangerous as initially thought. Combined with persisting doubts about Calavasur and the lack of commercially available SPARS vaccine, the new lower case fatality rate estimate led the public to grow increasingly hostile toward continued SPARS messaging. You saw that exactly, folks. Exactly what happened in real life. In late May, 3 messages were approved by the cross-agency committee established to produce the messaging campaign, one addressing the nature and risk of SPARS, one regarding the effectiveness of the antiviral, and one about the anticipated release of Coravax. These messages were broadly shared via all relevant government agencies and social media accounts. Let me just skip on down. Okay, the campaign, this is actually important. Okay, These messages were approved by the cross-agency committee established to produce the messaging campaign. One addressing, these messages were broadly shared via all relevant government agencies, internet, and social media accounts in an effort to further reach certain population subgroups. Agency officials enlisted the help of well-known scientists, celebrities, and government officials to make short video and zap clips, and in a few cases give interviews to major media outlets. Among those chosen were former President Jocelyn Bennett, a fictional president, a popular hip-hop star, and Paul Farmer, a co-founder of Partners in Health, renowned global health expert. The campaign produced mixed results. Common messaging did reduce public confusion, but let me just, when I said yesterday I was proud of the black community's contribution to the Tuskegee research, I meant that. I was proud of how they remained strong in the face of adversity. I am saddened by the injustice and suffering they experienced, but still strongly support the CDC's and FDA recommendation to take the vaccine. Point being is, I'm coming back at you folks, point being is, in this fictional scenario, they went in and talked about how they partnered with the government, partnered with celebrities, sports ball players, rappers, musicians to message, put out to the people who just worship these people, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. How many celebrities? Videos of celebrity after celebrity. Take the vaccine, don't kill grandma. We're running out of time, folks, so I might have to do part 2 of this, but I want to get to a few more places. What page am I on? 34. I need to get to, I didn't even mean to be on 34. Okay. Yeah, okay. Let me just go on. I want to get to 39. I haven't even got to the vaccine injuries yet. I'm telling you guys, this is changing horses midstream. I'm supposed to read this. Yeah, this is a fake, publication. The Hollywood Tribune. USG wasted millions on suspect science for useless SPARS drugs. Since the onset of SPARS pandemic, the federal government has reportedly spent, essentially how they, let me just keep reading it. Taxpayer dollars in support of SPARS therapeutics that were recently found to be wholly ineffective. In yesterday's White House press conference held by Joint President Archer, Secretary Nagel of HHS, Surgeon General Barry, and an array of other federal public health and medical officials, President Archer praised the food and skip. Long story short, the corruption evident through this gross misappropriation of funds and other resources is indicative of the leadership and overreach that we have come to expect from the Archer administration. If the flagrant misrepresentation of antiviral's effects is any indication of, long story short, folks, they did the same thing to Donald Trump during the COVID. That was in part why supposedly Biden got elected, but he got elected because they cheated. Let me move on. Let me just get to the parts I really wanted to hit. I said I need to get to page 33, so let me get to 33. Head of the line privileges. Okay. I want to read 33. No, I wanted to read 39. Where is 39? That was 39. Okay. I'm getting to page 51 now, the good stuff. Page 51. I'm telling you, this whole thing is just a roadmap of what happened to us during the COVID pandemic. Folks, this is available for you to look at. Okay. Provide Coravax, get vaccinated against SPARS, okay, getting into that. It gets into how folks don't want to take the vaccine, how they're skeptical of this, and that. But further on, okay, 51, lovers and haters. Early on in the Coravax vaccination campaign, anti-vaccination groups began emerging on social media platforms. These groups initially came from 4 primary sources. Muslim groups across the country who opposed the vaccine on the basis that the original formulation was used to treat pigs, African Americans who refused vaccination based on continued fear of government experimentation on African American populations, which is true and real. Tuskegee, look up the Tuskegee experiments. Alternative medicine proponents who had also been active in campaigning against the antiviral and anti-vaccination activists who were galvanized by the anti-vaccination sentiment associated with the nationwide measles outbreak in 2015. Make sure. It essentially gets into how there is Oh, got a hair in my mouth. But a bunch of folks not want to take the vaccine. When CoreVax distribution began, the anti-vaccination movement mobilized the resources, citing select quotes from CDC, NIH, and other government agencies. Anti-vaccine proponents began spreading message that the CoreVax was independently tested and had inadequately tested and had unknown long-term side effects. What did you see in real life? And that had long-term side effects, and that natural immunity resulting from contracting the disease was a more effective means of conferring protection. Many of these messages also contain suggestions, once again, drawing on the carefully selected and edited quotes from CDC, NIH, and other government officials regarding how to manage SPARS symptoms. The anti-vaccination movement's ubiquity, motivation to prevent vaccine injury, and social media expertise meant that numerous Americans heard their message. National polls conducted in mid-August 2026, for example, showed that 68% of U.S. citizens had seen a post or read a comment from someone expressing anti-CoreVax sentiments. Let me get on just to, again, this is detailing how they're going to combat the hesitancy of a pretend vaccine. Okay, this might be important. During the measles, okay, I don't want to read that. But by the time of CoreVax distribution began in July 2026, it was clear that not only did SPARS infect children more frequently and severely, but even mild cases of the disease often gave rise to secondary bacterial pneumonia in children. These infections often occurred between 4 to 6 months after initial infection with SPARS. They're already talking about long COVID, resulting in greater rates of pediatric mortality and mortality from the disease. Concern about the SPARS was quite high among many parents of young children, and when anti-vaccine campaigns began threatening vaccination uptake, some of these parents began to mobilize. Parents who were once active in pro-vaccination campaigns of 2025 began repurposing communication channels. Let me skip on down. Essentially, what you saw. These pro-vaccination efforts were largely successful, and vaccination rates in many of their country began to climb through December. Let me get in. The population with the highest vaccination rates in the United States, however, did not participate in this pro-vaccination rhetoric. Let me just get on to the good. The good. We are pursuing other options. Yes. Essentially, people don't want to take the vaccine. Whoa. 59. Did I? What? Did I skip something? Oh, no. Okay, I'm just skipping down because it's just so much. This is so much data, but recovery. This is where it gets interesting. Vaccine injury, Chapter 17. In contrast, I wish I could find her story without having to go through all this mess. In contrast to Alyssa Karputwitz's story, not all changes in opinion were in favor of public health messaging. As time passed, more people across the United States were vaccinated. Claims of adverse side effects began to emerge. Several patients claimed that their children were experiencing neurological symptoms similar to those seen among livestock exposed to the GMI vaccine. By May 2027, parental anxiety around this claim had intensified to the point of lawsuits. That month, a group of parents whose children developed mental retardation as a result of encephalitis in the wake of the CoreVax vaccination sued the federal government, demanding removal of the liability shield protecting the pharmaceutical companies responsible for developing and manufacturing CoreVax. The growing plaintiff cohort quickly withdrew their suit upon. Long story short is they have, while the FDA and others were busy researching possible connections between the CoreVax and reported neurological side effects, their efforts were continually undermined by epidemiological analysis provided by various non-government individuals and groups, in posting intensive maps. For example, EpiGirl, began posting interactive maps of the incidences of CoreVax side effects in April 2027. To create the maps, EpiGirl collected anecdotes of adverse CoreVax side effects using Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and combined them with data downloaded from the HHS Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS, a national vaccine safety surveillance program maintained by the CDC and FDA. EpiGirl also encouraged those among her subscribers who were Apple product users to share health data with her via Apple Research Kit and HealthKit applications. EpiGirl's maps were consequently shared widely in social media circles and even included in local national news reports. The federal government became concerned about the validity of EpiGirl's anecdotal data and the widespread sharing. Long story short, I've been through that enough. But the point I'm making is, Can you guys not see the similarities? They had a 2017 document talking about a coronavirus, talking about ineffective therapeutics, talking about vaccine hesitancy, the fact that in this, the pharmaceutical manufacturers were granted immunity from liability if there were bad effects. It's exactly what's happening and has happened in our real life. Like, I remember the PrEP Act, the emergency use authorization, we're giving liability protection to these manufacturers because, hey, it's a global pandemic emergency. We don't know what's going to happen. And I still don't think we know what's happening, has happened, or will happen with that. So, guys, again, I know I went through a lot of weeds on today's episode, but the point being is this stuff is and has been publicly available this whole time. I just typed on Google John Hopkins simulation from 2017 about a fictional outbreak. There it is. That easy. Look up, just type in Google, Event 201. Oh, the tabletop exercise game that they did 2 months before COVID happened. It's just, I mean, you can't be that silly to assume, oh, it's all coincidence. And now, no, it was pre-planned for years, pre-planned and pre-thought out to have the desired effect that it did. So, folks, I got into the weeds a lot, guys, and I showed you the dang hearings about the UFOs, showed you the dang documents about a fictional scenario before COVID happened that sure sounded a lot like COVID. Call me crazy all you want. Call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but you just got to open your eyes and look where they're pointing you at, and you'll see, man. But the same people who are now awake about the COVID, ooh, they really got us. I'm trying to remember. There was an example. Like, I knew a person personally who said, well, they're just lying to us about everything, about the COVID and everything. I know the example was, they're lying about the election. They stole the election. Oh, but the news is telling me to get the COVID vaccines. I better trust them. If you can't trust them in one area, why do you trust them in any area? But guys, I went way over time. Folks, thank you for tuning in if you did. I hope I've opened some eyes or at least piqued the interest and curiosity of folks to look into the documents yourself. It's very easy and not hard to do. So guys, thanks for tuning in. And if you want to see me again, I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. on the Feast Me Show with Manly Mark. And guys, don't forget to tune in to Night with Fee tonight at 9 p.m. Send in those email questions now so Fee can get to thinking about them for his show. So guys, thank you and God bless. I'll talk to you next time. As always, had the best time. Thank you guys.